Today is 4th of July. It's about 8:20. I'm leaving, right? For the past year, I made sure that my house always had somebody here, to keep the gang stalkers out. Because, I mean, there's a camera over there, right? Let's see if I can show you. And it's well, it used to be wired up. Be quiet. I don't know if you could see that, but it used to be wired up. Snip. Funny, guys. So my wife ain't here, right? She's at work, and my son ain't here either, because he's in Philly with his mom. So it's just me here. My wife ain't here. Nobody's here. I wouldn't say it if it wasn't true. So I'm leaving. Hold on one second. Now, the main thing was, it was to prove a point that gang stalking can be defeated. You can defeat it. So, for the past year and some change, every day somebody was there. Karen lived with us for like 8 months. She was there. Sometimes my son would be there, and the rest, my wife is either there or I'm there. So we both talked about it. Of course, it ain't just me saying like, let's just move on, get back on with the things that sometimes you want to do together, you know what I mean? And nobody's there to watch the house. Because it's the same as a baby. It's like that was our baby. Our baby was to make sure that there was no chance that anybody can get in. So now, well, let's just see what happens. Let's just see what happens. Let's see where we're at. I heard before, Steve said he's been gang stalked on and off, depending on what you're doing. So depending on what you're doing, it could ease down, or it could ramp up. I'm just going to, I got to get some gas. I'm running out of gas. But, it was worth it, because it's a mental strengthening game that truly does help. And when people can recognize that they are being surveilled, and you can finally just understand that the entire world is, so God's watching you anyway. Every move that you make anyway is being recorded. So if you're on the up and up, you shouldn't have a worry about it. So for over a year, every day, at least 365 days, my house was locked down tight. So now I'm stepping out. I'm stepping off. You know, how would I be able to know if anybody came to my house? Not sure. Not sure. Maybe I set booby traps, because that is how I figured out that they were coming in, because I set some booby traps. My wife knew immediately because you guys moved Bowie's bed a foot to the right. It's not something that just moves over a foot to the right. But that was the beginning of her knowing that, noticing it. And then it started to continue. Yeah, I kind of feel like these things that have been happening, it's time to just let go. It's time to let go. Just let it be. So I know that they have the exit entry gang stalking mood. As soon as you leave, someone comes in. Yeah. There was times, right? There were times that there's some fireworks going to be going off tonight, huh? Oh, man. Trump said it's going to be the greatest ever, and it's probably going to be prolonged for another week. It's just, everything is just going to be prolonged and then prolonged. And, you know, just for something to drastically happen and to wake a lot of people up that are dead asleep. That's what I'm looking forward to. It's just that yeah. It's that feeling of just whatever it is, let it be what it is. And just do what you have to do. So these are one of these things I feel like I have to do. I feel like, because I'm using it as an example. As soon as I figured it out that it's real, then I started to expose it the way that I could. And a lot of things happen on a daily basis that were just way too unordinary. And so we just kept our eyes open to it. The classic is the ones where they did the U-turn. There was 4 of them did a U-turn in about 4 minutes, I think. That was unusual behavior. Taking the gang stalking, just exposing it for what it is, showing you the tactics of it, what they can do, the damage that they can do if you allow them to do it. So just, I mean, my house is still secure. Either way, it's still secure, one way or another. But what I don't believe is true is that they come in the house, right, while you're there. I don't believe it. Because I never seen an example. And then watch, tonight I'll see an example. Somebody will break in my house and stab me to death. You know what I mean? But on YouTube, because everything is fear and everybody is acting, and people aren't as evil as they're trying to make them out to seem that they are. I have this feeling that the things that they say aren't true. When you're at home, they don't come in. The only people that are going to come in your house are the ones that are, they just want to come in your house. They're burglarizing your house. They're robbing you, and it's not that you are a target for any reason other than circumstances, or it's one of your enemies that they don't like you or whatever. But I haven't seen it happen to me, but I do know that they come in your house. With them coming in your house alone is supposed to put fear in your heart, because you're supposed to say, wow, man. I mean, they just come in like gangsters, because they do. I remember when I put my new locks on, they came right in the next day, opened up the window on the left-hand side, cut another wire in the camera out back in the shed, and made it very aware that they were there. But how do you prove that? You can't. You can't prove that the cops. It's just, but you understand that they did come in. So, because they try to put fear in your heart with everything, that's another one of those things. If you think that they're going to come in and harm you, well, they already harmed you, because your head already told you. Because who told you that they harmed you? Did anybody get harmed by them? People do get into accidents. I've heard that. I can see that it's possible. I'm not ruling everything out, saying everything's fake. I'm just saying some things you got to let off the gas with. Others, it's like some are definite, and others are just not so much. But anyway, it was an experience to show how you can see it, how you go through it, because it was a good year. It would make some good episodes later on in life. It would make a good true story, actually, because the ones stalking me, they know damn well this story is true. Unlike all the other, everything that says it's a true story on TV, get the hell out of here. The only true story is us. So it's how you figure out the tactics, how you handle it all the way through, how I went from hating it, I went from being extremely pissed off at you guys, and then I started to understand Satan. And I started to understand how Satan thinks. Then I started to understand it becomes more of your choice, what you choose in your head. Satan can only exist in your head. You know, if you allow him to exist in your head, he is there. And he will stay. If you don't know your thoughts are his, he will continue to give you his thoughts. So I hated my enemies. And I hated it to a point where, man, I was, you feel like fighting them. You feel like punching them in their face. You can't punch them all in their face. And then you understand that, well, you know what? Believe it or not, some of it is there to sharpen you up. It's to put you through the test of just annoyance after annoyance. Just, I mean, how do you handle this annoyance, Robin? Well, this is how. You just continue to live your life, and know that everybody's not permanently damaged forever. Your soul is not sold because you can't sell it. You don't own it. It's just you've let Satan borrow it. You can take it back at any moment. So that's why I started to understand that's how people think. Okay, people are being told the things that Satan's telling them and they don't even know it. So I understand that is true. Because I understand that's true, I'm not going to hate on anybody. I'm going to understand that every time I see a good side of somebody, I love that person more. When I see the bad side, it's like, I understand where it's coming from. And some people don't even know that those thoughts aren't theirs. That's why I continue to try to just love the people that are difficult. And I search for the difficult things in life and challenge it so I can see if I need any strengthening in that area. And that's like kind of what the Gangstalking Corporation did to me. It gave me something, sharpened my mind more, made it more aware, and then I learned how to flick the switch on them. I was tuning it down for a while, but then I learned how to flick the switch. And now, it is something that, thank God I went through. Thank you, Lord. Hey, Satan, thanks, man. I appreciate it, little brother. I know you're a pain in the ass sometimes, and I know anybody that follows Christ thinks they're so great. I know, I get it. But, it is in the end, it's something that strengthens you. It has to. You don't have to like it, but it strengthens you. Do what you can about it. So it's 8:38. It's still the 4th of July. I've been out of my house for about 17 minutes now. I got to get gas, So anyway, it's kind of like gematria, where I got sucked into it. I started to learn about it, went all the way through to one end to the other, and then I realized that it has truth and it has lies, and you just have to read between the lines. So it's a book that has a lot of purpose. I just discredit it a lot because Steve pissed me off about the stuff that he was saying about me. I just couldn't believe somebody was lying that much, But then I realized that, he deserves that Academy Award for the greatest actor in the entire world. You get it, Steve, because, man. So anyway, it's like this thing that you search it all the way through from one end to the other, and then you make a decision on what you need to do. And sometimes you'll stick with that decision until you decide that there's another one that's better, and then you go with that. And when knowledge increases, you should usually be changing your mind anyway. Just not with when you have a definitive plan, stick with it, right? Until another better definitive plan comes along. Don't hop from one to the other. Stick with one and stay that way, because then you won't drift off. As soon as you drift off, you literally are submitting yourself into the land of Satan. You're drifting off, and you're submitting yourself to him, and you're basically signing over your rights, and you're allowing him to think for you. Has anybody ever sat there sometimes or whatever, walking, and then all of a sudden you start feeling like anxiety inside, and you don't even know why? Why don't you examine why you're feeling that anxiety as soon as you feel it? Because you're going to remember you didn't feel it at one point. And then try to examine, why are you feeling that way? Who told you to be anxious? Who told you to be anxious for nothing? That wasn't God, was it? Well, that's why God asked, who told you you were naked in the garden? Who told you that? So people are being told a lot of things in their head, and it's just not true. and it's not their thoughts. So I went from it to, again, it's about a year and a half experience of knowing the gang stalking. If I can look back at my videos, it's at least about a year and a half ago when I first started to recognize them. So it was another year and a half of a experiment that had to go through, like the jail experiment for a year and a half. That job that I had, I was being sabotaged with the work, guys poking holes in my pipe. That was a year and a half. And so here we are again with this year and a half. And it's time for the next phase. It's time, everything I'm thinking of in my life that I do on a day in and day out basis, I'm thinking about stepping it up another notch. Because I'm thinking about stepping it up another notch, I do step it up another notch. And then I continue on with the consistency of that, because a better plan came ahead of me, and I seen that. And it's like when you work out, you have you can either stay the same or you step it up a notch. You instead of doing the same amount of push-ups, do 5 more. As soon as you're getting ready to stop, usually with everything else, do 5 more. It's just stepping it up a notch with everything. And you know, cigarettes, man, that is one of those things. It's one of them things that, you know, it's just like food. It's a thing that, well, it's actually I think cigarettes is more addictive than food, because some people smoke cigarettes a lot and they don't eat too much. And but that's a good thing too, depending on how much. But what I'm saying is, it's not about the food, whatever, it's about the thought. It's about and everybody will either learn on their own time, or it's just not meant for them to stop. I did it one time when I was, and the only reason I'm saying is because when I was 17, I was locked up for 8 months. And I got locked up. I walked by all the people. I was the third white boy there. There was like 500 people. I learned how to get along with everybody, but because I minded my own business. But I came into the jail, the lockaway center facility. It's like a camp. It didn't have a fence. And then I stayed there for 8 months. Got my GED. That's why I didn't go to high school, because I was locked up. And then just graduated at 17 years old, so it was even better. I skipped through. I took the basic test, like, all right, I'm done. And then I left after 8 months, exactly, you know, and I walked right by the same people that I walked by when I walked in. You know, it's kind of like getting a promotion. When you get there, you walk in, there's people there that are already there, and then you get the job that they were looking to get. Hey, what do you want me to do? Not take the job? But it's because I felt like at that time I needed to step it up a notch from what the hell I was doing. I needed to step it up a notch. So I got the hell out of there as fast as possible, faster than anybody that was there. And as soon as I was there for 2 months, I went working at Pizza Hut. So I even worked while I was there, and time went by real fast. So anyway, that was another experience I had to go through that sharpens you mentally when, yeah, I shouldn't have done the things I did, but I did do what I did. So apparently I should have done it all, because I don't regret anything that I did. I think I had a point. I probably drifted off, you know. I drifted off. I tend to do that sometimes. Drift off a little bit. So this is that time where This is that time where it's necessary to step it up one more notch mentally, to get rid of one more thing that I'm bound to. Like I've bounded myself to my house to make sure that nobody got in freely anyway. I mean, because I heard about people coming into the houses on YouTube. I never experienced it, so I didn't see it for myself. And because I didn't see it for myself the whole entire time, now I'm saying that I think it's all a big hoax. I think it's just a big hoax. And a lot of things are all about fear. And I think it's just time. That car was one of those issues that I felt like I had, right? And so I got rid of that car. And then any kind of addiction, the Xanax, anything that I was going to rely on, I didn't want to have to rely on anything. So anything that my flesh is craving besides food and water, I want to make sure that I have a grip on it. And I fasted last week, right? Or maybe 2 weeks ago, for 3 days. And I did this thing where I know I'm hungry, right? I'm literally torturing my flesh because it's Satan's, like he owns it. So because I'm hungry all the time, just like anybody else, I just, after the first day, I bought some fried chicken. I couldn't help myself. I wanted to fast for 3 days, but I bought this chicken, and then so I took it home and I grabbed it. I'm like, and I just, how you like that, Robin, huh? Kind of like when I was walking home, like, how you like walking home, idiot? So I tortured myself. I smelled the chicken. It smelled so good, but I did not plan on eating it either. Don't you know that? Well, I didn't eat it either, because the whole point was to purposely go buy the chicken, knowing I will not take a bite of it, because it's in my head. My head is set. It's 3 days. I'm fasting no matter what, and I'm going to torture myself by doing it, because screw you, Satan. I'm going to enjoy thinking about it later on after I did it, not as I'm doing it. Okay, it's kind of, like I said, it's torture. But to smell that chicken, it was so good, and I'm like, yeah, Satan, that's what you get. How you like that? And it's just one of those counter punches that you give them. It's a mental. I'm just telling you what I do mentally to defeat them even more, and to get like this satisfaction of defeating the thing that always grabs you. So it felt good to torture myself with the chicken. And so cigarettes, well, it's the same as food in a sense, because it's an urge. It's actually more, because the urge is there more than food is, depending on if you smoke. If you smoke, the urge is more there to take cigarette. If you don't smoke, the urge is there more to eat. And then you get into that repetitive pattern that it just wears you down. So when I went to jail, right, when I was a kid, to finish up that story about my dad, right, my dad, I got out. I was smoking cigarettes because it was there. They let me smoke. I could smoke on when I went to work. And the only reason I smoked is because I couldn't smoke weed because I got locked up. And I wasn't always really a big weed smoker ever. For a long time, I did without. So anyway, after I got out, I would have to say it was about a year and a half. I mean, come to think of it, because I got locked up. I started smoking when I got locked up. I did 8 months. I got out. Now I was addicted to cigarettes. So for the next 8 months, because it's like the first 8 you're in there, and it's like, well, I'm in here, and then when you get out, it's like, well, now what's your excuse? You know, you're out. Oh crap, I'm addicted. Shit, I didn't. Oh man, this sucks. Oh, and I'm getting a headache. And then I told my dad. I said, I'm gonna quit smoking. I'm so tired. He's like, why don't you just do it now? I'm like, well, I will. I just bought a pack of cigarettes though. I had a cigarette in my hand, because the reason why I told about it, because I had the cigarette in my hand. And he's like, why don't you stop smoking cigarettes? I'm like, now. I'm like, well, I will. I'll stop tomorrow. He's like, why don't you stop right now? Why don't you take that cigarette you're getting ready to smoke and throw it in the trash? And the pack of cigarettes. Oh, man. My dad died of lung cancer. He died earlier than he should have. What was it, about 6-7 years now? 2013. He died May 14th, 2013. He died. Yeah. So, anyway, he told me to do that, right? I'm like, that's a good idea. Yeah, you know what? And I had no idea that Satan was dragging me down. I wasn't really like that conscious of it. I took that cigarette snap, threw the pack in the trash, and I never smoked since. And that's the truth. All because of something. My dad wasn't the best dad. He was at the beginning, but Satan got in between him and my mom, and they broke up, and just everything went to shit. Out of having 5 kids, I was the last one. The last. Shelby first. So I was the last one. And but that was one of the things that I always remember that my dad did do that was very good for me, because I listened. It was a challenge. I took him up on a challenge, and I smashed Satan in his face when it came to that habit. Not everybody's going to kick it, and I wouldn't expect anybody to, but